Welcome to the Health Flow Podcast. I'm your host, Jean Armand. Join me weekly as I share health information that will educate and inspire you. Please consider supporting this podcast by listening, subscribing, and rating. You can also support future episodes by making small monthly donations. Once again, welcome to the Health Flow Podcast. Are you thinking about starting your own podcast? If so, Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, Anchor is free. Anchor has all the creation tools that allow you to record your podcast and edit it right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Anchor is everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome to the Health Flow Podcast. This is episode number 20, and I've got my guest with me, Dr. Reginald Nesbitt. So it's almost the end of 2019, and realistically, if you haven't reached your weight loss goal already, you probably won't for 2019. But 2020 is a new year, fresh start, new beginning, another opportunity to reach those goals. Today, Dr. Nesbitt and I are going to talk about some different diets, such as the keto diet, intermittent fasting. We'll touch on vegan and vegetarian diet, and so forth. But before I begin, let me say this. The bottom line is that you have to make sure that you make a choice that's good for you and your body, and it lines up with your belief. So we're not here to convince anyone to try any particular diet. You have to do what's best for you. Welcome, Reggie. How are you?
I'm good, Gene. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. So let's get right in it. Let's start talking about the keto diet.
All right. So this is interesting. I have a little bit of expertise in it, and that I've been doing it for the past 6 months. Um, and it's been there's a lot of misconceptions about the keto diet. There's tons of information that's available. Some of it is very, very good, high quality information, and some of it is just trash. So let's just get to the high quality information.
Okay.
Um, so the ketogenic diet is essentially it is a high fat, moderate protein, low carbohydrate diet. Now, when most people hear high fat, they automatically think, oh my gosh, how is this going to work? Because fat is bad for you, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. When in actuality, that has sort of not been the case. Your body it needs fats. It needs fats because fats make up a significant portion of your body in terms of your nervous system, your cells, your cell membranes, your hormones. I mean, all sorts of things have their basis in fats. So you absolutely need fats for proper regulation and working of your body. So when we talk about high fat, we're talking about healthy fats.
Okay.
We're talking about healthy fats such as monounsaturated fats. You can do some polyunsaturated fats. Now there is some question about whether or not saturated fats have their have a deleterious effect on the body itself. Um, for years, we have heard that saturated fats are sort of, are taboo and lead to heart disease. And there's been some studies that sort of have reversed that line of thought and that thinking and sort of debunked that quite a bit. Now, what is consistently known is that trans fats are terrible for you.
Give us
So
an example of the different fats. And, my audience may not be too familiar, but, with the
type of foods that are, trans fat?
Sure, absolutely. All right, so let's
Right.
think monounsaturated fats, things that are like healthy fats, monounsaturated fats, things that are found like olive oil. Olive oil is a fantastic example of a monounsaturated fat.
Okay.
Nuts also, like macadamia nuts, pecans, almonds, things of that nature. All those have lots of healthy fats in them, from a monounsaturated and polyunsaturated. When you think of trans fats, you typically can think of fatty cuts of meat, beef, of that nature will have some trans fat. I mean, trans fats, some saturated fats. But when you think of, straight up trans fats, that's like Crisco. The things that you absolutely should probably avoid.
Got it.
Yeah, things like that.
So the
Now,
keto diet is low in trans fat.
everybody's diet should be low in trans fat because that, without question, has been linked to heart disease, without question.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Just making it plain. Okay.
absolutely. So you want to you basically stay on healthy fats, stay with the healthy fats. Now, in terms of protein, you want to do moderate protein. And the carbohydrates is going to be, it's a low carbohydrate diet. Now that does not mean, there's a misnomer that means there's no carbs. There's this thing of, oh, you can't have bread, you can't have rice. No. You can. What you'll do is, with the aid, and I suggest people always track their macronutrients. By macronutrients, I mean fats, proteins, carbohydrates. Use an app like MyFitnessPal, or what I have been using is called Carb Manager, and I use the free thing, the free portion. I don't pay for any of the other things, so it's really not necessary. And what basically these apps do is they force accountability, but they also give you information. And
Right.
basically put in things like, your age, your weight, your activity level, how active you are, and it will calculate how many calories you need to either maintain weight, gain weight, or lose weight.
Right.
And you can choose what kind of diet that you want to do. So if you put in the keto diet, it'll say, okay, based on these parameters, you need to eat this X amount of fat, X amount of protein, and it'll give you your number for your carbohydrates.
And what's that app called again?
Carb Manager.
Carb Manager. Okay.
Yep. And I believe it. I know it's iOS, but it also should be Android as well.
Okay. And it's a free app. So
It's free.
that's in our notes for people to try it if they'd like to.
Yep, free app.
Go ahead.
So once you do that, then you'll get your number of how many carbs you should be eating in a day. And once you hit that number, then you can put in, the thing about what I like about Carb Manager is that you can put in whatever it is you eat, and it'll tell you exactly what's in it, how many carbs, how many fat, how many proteins, and it has a graph that tracks you along the day that tells you exactly where you are, so there's no misconception.
Right. How is weight loss achieved with the keto diet?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish your question. I'm sorry.
Is it because you're, obviously eating less carb, eating more good fats and less, of the bad fats, the trans fat, or is it because you're just having a lower overall caloric intake?
So I'll try not to get too scientific and too nerdy with this, but basically you have two basic methods of fuel. You can either fuel your body with carbohydrates. You can either burn energy using carbohydrates, or your body can burn fat.
Mm-hmm.
And it really depends on what you feed it and what your metabolism will be. So when you switch to a keto diet, what basically happens is anytime you eat any sort of carbohydrates, you take them in, you digest them, and then they get all carbohydrates, regardless of what it is, they get absorbed as sugar, right? As some form of sugar. And by sugar, I mean glucose or sucrose or something like that. And your body let's just use glucose for the audience. And you take that, and it floats in your bloodstream, and then some couple of things happen with some hormones like insulin, and that sugar gets imported into your cells, and then they connect together into a big chain of sugar molecules called glycogen. Once your cells have been filled up with what they need, anything that's extra, that's floating around, Your
Mm-hmm.
body takes that sugar molecule and converts it into a fat, and it gets stored as fat. And this is one of the reasons that when you have a high carbohydrate diet, people get fat.
Right.
This is why you gain weight, because your body will store exactly what it needs, and then whatever is left over is considered excess. And your body's like, well, let's not get rid of this just in case we may, have a famine or something, or let's just
Right.
say Reggie loses his job and he can't afford food. If I turn this into fat after we burn through the rest of our sugar, we can at least burn the fat till he can find another job. Right.
Right.
But the reality is, what happens is you just continue to pile on more and more and more fat. Now, with the ketogenic diet, what you do is you essentially shift you shift the way what your body uses for energy. You shift it from a primary carbohydrate based to a fat based.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the diet. Now, why is that useful? That's useful. Each gram of fat or fat can give you essentially 9 calories of energy. Each carbohydrate can give you 4 calories of energy. Your body also can burn protein, which you don't want to do because that's primarily going to be burning your muscle. And you don't want muscle tissue.
Right.
But it also gives you 4 calories. So you think about that. One for one for one. One molecule of fat gives you 9. So you get essentially twice the amount of energy from fat than you do from carbohydrates, from sugars.
Mm-hmm.
So once you shift your body over to primarily burning fat, then if you think about it, you have essentially an infinite amount of fat to burn. Even the leanest person in the world has enough fat to sustain them for a long time.
Exactly. And we'll see how this ties into the intermittent fasting, which is something I've been reading about, and I'm actually going to start tomorrow. So, yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, so we see how we achieve weight loss with the keto diet because it forces us to burn fat.
Right. It taps into your fat stores. It
Got
will tap into your fat stores. And because you have an infinite amount of fat, you can just burn, 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 burn. And this is why you see people have a tremendous amount of weight loss with the ketogenic diet. I mean, a tremendous amount of weight loss because now you transition your body into primarily burning fat at rest, and quite frankly, burning fat with activity. And one of the, as you know, Gene, we're a cyclist. This works hand in hand
Mhm.
with endurance activities and things like that. So as I have been exercising and I started keto diet May 22nd, and it's December the 1st. I've
December.
lost Yeah,
Mhm.
December 1st. I've lost 50 pounds.
That's amazing.
Okay, and it has been primarily body fat. I've gotten my body fat down to about 11% now
Mhm.
as of today. Um, and that started out. Let me just put it to you this way: it wasn't 11% when I started.
No, it couldn't have been.
Yeah, it was not. And I essentially, I look like what I look like in college, which is amazing.
I'm sure you're pleased with that.
Quite pleased. Now, I'm not pleased. I'm not pleased with the fact that I've had to redo my wardrobe because I
Oh,
could no longer.
really?
Oh yeah, I could no. And I had some wonderful suits and jackets and things. I've had to completely because I've gotten my waist has gone from uh, I'm down to a 33 waist now. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
was at a 36, 38 waist, so that's a big difference. So my pants were literally falling off. My jackets literally not fitting. And I tried to salvage some things I was able to salvage with my tailor, but some stuff I couldn't. I just had to start over. But you know what? I'd
It,
rather go in this direction than the opposite.
that's right. So actually it is beneficial. Like you can continue the keto diet for as long as you want to lose weight, Or is that a way you can just continue to eat and maintain your weight?
You can do both. So when you talk about losing weight, you absolutely have to always have a calorie deficit, which means that you have to burn more calories than you take in. And it doesn't matter if you do ketogenic diet, doesn't matter if you do whatever, no matter what diet you're doing, if you want to actually lose weight, you have to have a calorie deficit. Period, point blank, end of story. No more discussion on that.
Exactly.
Now, if you want to maintain your weight, you can just increase what you eat. Okay. So the first thing that you always want to do is you need to figure out how many calories do I need to consume in order to maintain my current weight. And there are tons of calculators online that will do this for you. And once you know that, all you got to do is drop below that. Doesn't matter what diet you do, just drop below that, right?
Yeah.
Below that. And then stay consistent with that. So if you want to gain weight, then you go above it. If you want to stay at your current weight, then you just eat those current calories.
Okay. I mean, you make it sound really simple.
It is. And your question about is keto, can you be sustained? There are tons, there's just a lot of misdirection on this. Some people are saying, oh, you can't do this, not sustainable. Look, it's a lifestyle choice. If my diet, if you do keto correctly, you essentially are doing fruits and vegetables and meats. Then and when I say fruits and vegetables and meats, I don't mean like I'm sitting around eating like bacon and all day, but hey, I'm not eating just bacon and lard all day. I'm not, because that's ridiculously unhealthy for you.
Right.
So let's say I have a dinner. I may sear some salmon. I may have some sautéed spinach with that, some broccoli with that, some carrots with that, whatever the case may be. My midday snack a couple of times may be some macadamia nuts. Breakfast may consist of some eggs, either fried egg, boiled egg, whatever the case may be, scrambled egg, and avocado. Right. So I'm taking in healthy fats, healthy proteins, and I may get my carbohydrates from things. I get my carbohydrates from vegetables and from certain fruits. Now there are certain things you got to avoid because there are certain fruits that have way too many carbs for your particular goal. So as an
Yeah.
example, let's just say right now, currently, I consume about 31 carbs a day, and I've actually increased the amount of carbs that I consume because I plateaued. And so what I'll do is I've been doing it so long, I'll know if I eat broccoli, in order to get you know, a decent amount of broccoli that I will eat, maybe a couple of, maybe 5, 6 florets, which is the big flowers of the broccoli.
Uh-huh.
That in and of itself is about doing that. It's probably like 6 grams of carbs, 6 grams of net carbs. Okay. If I were to try to eat 31 grams of carbs worth of broccoli, I would have to pile the plate with broccoli.
Right.
And that's the thing about getting your carbohydrates from better sources, like from vegetables and things like that. Because if I were to eat the broccoli, I can still get my carbs, but I'll get full because broccoli also has vitamins and nutrients and it has fiber in it. And those things will get you full, but at the same time provide you with what you need. And I'm not overloading. But if I were to eat like some macaroni and cheese, you know, if I tried to eat the equivalent of what I ate in broccoli and macaroni and cheese, the carbohydrate count is way, way different. And before you know it, a couple of hours later, I'm hungry again because I'm
Right.
not satiated, because there's nothing in there that's keeping me satiated.
Okay. Are there any free sources of what you can follow to get the plan for the keto diet, or is that something that you have to purchase?
No, no, no. There's tons of stuff online, but there's a site called Ruled Me, um, RULED Me, and it's a fantastic uh, website that talks about the ketogenic diet, and it goes into depth about how to start it, what to expect. It gives you some blueprints with regards to certain foods that to avoid, what foods you can include. It also talks about um, it goes into sort of the physiology of it, which is very useful for someone to understand. And it
Right.
also talks about the changes that will happen. Uh, when you try to do certain types of exercise. There are certain things you can do, exercise you can do on ketogenic diet, and there are certain exercises that are going to be compromised if you try to do something on a ketogenic diet. So all of that gets explained on Rule to Me. It's a very good website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's move on to intermittent fasting, unless you have anything else to share on the keto diet.
No, I'm not really. So intermittent fasting kind of almost goes hand in hand with the ketogenic diet. So I actually do both, if I'm honest. So intermittent fasting basically says that I'm going to have a predefined. I'm going to take 24 hours in a day, right? And I'm
Right.
going to find whichever period of that day, and that's where I'm going to eat my food. So, for example, I typically eat between the hours of 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. So that's an 8 hour. It's a 9 hour window, right? So that means
So you're almost fasting for 19 to 20 hours.
there you go. Well, let's see.
Yeah. If
That's
you're on,
nine. So yeah. So I have another 15 hours. 15 hours. I have
15
a 15.
hours.
Yeah. So I do a 15. What's called a 15-9 split. Uh,
Okay.
I eat what I'm going to eat in that 9 hours, and then the other 15 hours I'm not eating at all.
Right.
And some of that, of course, not that in that 15 hours is times that I'm asleep, right? But essentially, I eat between 11 and 8. And what happens is that outside of that window, your body will, of course, digest your food and get everything it needs from that food. But other than that, your body will tap into your body fat to sustain what you're doing.
Hmm.
And so this is a great enhancer if you're using ketogenic diet along with intermittent fasting. But you don't necessarily have to do the ketogenic diet with intermittent fasting. I have a good friend of mine that does strictly intermittent fasting, and he lost like 90 pounds. And you can lose a decent amount of weight with intermittent fasting because you are not eating the majority of the day. And the other thing with intermittent fasting is it allows your body to actually rest in terms of your intestines and things like that, in terms of digestion, which helps gives them a break a little bit and allows them to sort of heal up because they're cells like anything else, and they're constantly turning over from all the activity, uh,
Right.
which is a sort of a good thing. And there have been some studies that said ketogenic diet, it increases, your skin complexion and other things like that. But one thing it certainly does do is your energy levels get balanced out quite nicely.
That's great.
Uh, yeah.
Some I've even I've been doing a little research on the intermittent fasting, and there's I forgot the gentleman name, but he's actually even using it to treat his diabetic patients.
Yes.
What they're saying is that not only weight loss, but some of the other benefits is that it can reduce your insulin resistance and your blood sugar and your
Absolutely.
insulin levels.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
reduces, like you were saying, giving the cells a time to recover. It reduces risk of inflammation
Right.
and also reduce your bad cholesterol, which are your LDLs,
Mhm.
your triglycerides, and your overall blood sugar. And
Yes.
I thought it was fascinating. I actually enjoyed it. Just the research I'm doing on that. It
Mhm.
actually ain't supposed to increase a hormone in your brain that they're thinking may help with growth of new nerve cells,
Mhm.
which
And
is
you
amazing.
in those same benefits that you see with intermittent fasting, you also see with the ketogenic diet, which is why they overlap so much.
Mm.
Um, and when you use them together, you really you get a powerful matrix for um, in terms of lifestyle change, in terms of and I mean, of course, weight loss and things like that. But you'll see some potentiating effects when you combine the two. But like I said, you can use either one in isolation.
Right. Yeah, even if you're going to from what I've been reading, doing the intermittent fasting during the time that you're eating, it doesn't mean that you eat all bad things. You still have to
There
make
you
healthy
go.
choices. The lean fats, you still have to, and the good fats, and
Yeah,
the low carbs, and the fresh fruits and vegetables. So, yeah, I
absolutely.
think it's a good way to do it.
Yeah,
Um,
you don't want to intermittent. You don't want to in your feeding period. Be shoving McDonald's or Burger King down your throat. You can't do
You can't
that.
do that because then what are you doing? You go right back to what we were saying. You're storing fat. Your
Right.
body uses what it needs immediately, and then the rest is turned into fat.
Turn into
Storage
fat.
energy. Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, this stuff is good. I think we just, I just want people to have options. And it's important to really look into things because not every diet really, fits. What's good for me may not be good for you. We have to, whatever works for you and your lifestyle, that's what needs to be done. And
Absolutely.
lastly, I wanted to talk about not that this is a diet, I would say that this is a lifestyle, being a vegan and vegan versus vegetarian. Now, we know that vegans, they eat no fish, no meat, no chicken, eggs, dairy products. They're just basically, you know, fruits, vegetables, and nuts.
Yeah.
And that's a serious lifestyle. Sure.
Yeah, they eat nothing that comes from an animal, even the byproduct of an animal, like you said, such as dairy. There's no eggs, no nothing. It's just like you said, it's fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains.
Right.
Um,
The difference with vegetarian is that vegetarian include dairy products in their meal, their diet, but not eggs, just
correct,
dairy products.
correct.
So, I mean, we have to, if that's your choice, I always encourage people that they have to be careful because with a vegan diet, you need to be concerned about your vitamin B12, your calcium, your iron, and folate. And you know what vitamin B12 can put, the lack of it can potentially do for a person. You
Right,
want to
right.
explain to the folks what a B12 deficiency is all about?
Well, there's a couple things, two main things that vitamin B12 deficiencies can cause. The first one, it can cause a certain type of anemia.
Mm.
And when most people think about anemia, they think about iron, sort of an iron deficiency anemia. But you can have vitamin B12 deficiency and also uh, cause anemia as well. It's not the same as an iron deficiency anemia, but
Yeah.
the effects are still the same.
Or
Uh,
even worse, I would say, or even worse,
yeah,
pernicious anemia. Yes.
anemia, right? It's a
Mhm.
macrocytic anemia as opposed to microcytic anemia.
Right.
And the other thing, chronic sort of B12 deficiency it can affect your sort of your nervous system,
Yes.
uh, and it can affect sort of the posterior columns in your nervous system. It can cause you to have nervous system effects that can happen with a long term vitamin B12 deficiency. So
Yeah.
the other
Such
thing,
as like tingling in your hands and fingers.
Mhm.
Your balance may be off, and even if you start having like memory problems. And this, I think one of the I personally knew someone who she still is a vegan, and she was an elderly woman, and we used to live in the same neighborhood. And actually, she found out I was in the healthcare field, and she started having problems with her fingers being numb. No one ever told her about this B12 deficiency, this problem. And I mean, this is important if you're going to, anyone who's decided to become a vegetarian, vegan, or vegetarian, that's a potential thing. And it doesn't happen right away because our bodies store vitamin B12 for a long period of time. And that, it could be a matter of years. And then all of a sudden you start having these symptoms. And I actually, when we lived in the same neighborhood, used to give her her vitamin B12 shots.
Mhm.
And she was caring for her grandchild. And she had him on a vegan diet. And actually, he was underweight, almost looking malnourished. And her, the pediatrician suggested that she no longer, that she actually fed him meat, and she changed around, and it was just because of lack of. I'm not putting down the vegetarian diet at all, because this is really a very healthy diet. I mean, it's great for weight loss. Your blood sugar and your cholesterol can be great, but you really have to be careful, and watch out for the necessary things that your body need to operate well.
Absolutely, and that I think that's true. And again, and I know plenty of people who are both vegans and vegetarians, and it's not unlike any. It's not unlike the ketogenic diet. Whatever lifestyle choices in terms of diets that you choose to utilize for yourself, you always have to make sure that you're getting all the nutrients and things that you need. So if you're going to be doing sort of a vegan or vegetarian diet, protein is a big issue because there's no meat. So you need to make sure that you take in make sure that you consume things in your diet that will substitute for that protein that you may not be getting from those dairy products, and substitute for that protein that you may not be getting from the meat that you don't eat. It's not that it's bad diet. It's just a matter of, okay, well, this is what I'm going to choose to do. So let me make sure that I consume what it is that I need for my body to function optimally.
Right, exactly. And I mean, you get B12 primarily from animal fat, but you can also get it from fortified cereals.
Absolutely.
Um, Another thing that I watch out for, that I personally would think if I was a vegan, is I noticed that there were some people that were actually eating artificial protein.
Mhm.
Now, from what I can remember in my training, is that there's a lot of these processed foods have nitrites, so you
Mhm.
need to be, just to read package labels. And nitrite is something that's known to cause cancer, so you need to be careful with that. But other than that, really just being aware of, and working with a doctor really to make sure that you're either taking B12 supplements. They have them in gels. If you're really low, they can give you injections.
Yeah.
It's balance and monitoring and making sure your calcium is fine, because you won't be getting dairy, and we need our bones to be healthy and strong. So all of that, just to vitamins.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Because we want to live healthy and strong. It's not just about diet. It's about exercise. It's about fresh air. It's about your mental space. Because I truly believe that if your mind is not healthy, it's hard for the rest of your body to come along. So it's a whole package deal. You need to be in a certain space, to just think clearly and make plans and execute those plans. But you can definitely reach your health goals. And I know 2020 is my year to just continue on that path. I'm right behind you, Reggie. You know, lost 50. I don't need to lose 50 now. I don't need to lose 50. I'll be happy with 20. My max, 15 to 20. And it's not a number actually. It's about being fit for
Yes.
me, and
Yes.
and strong,
Yes.
getting rid of as much fat on your body as I possibly can, and just healthy bones, healthy joints, all that.
It is, and it for me, it was never a number. It wasn't well. I'm lying. I'm lying. It was a number at first, right? But
Right.
then what happened is that as I ate better and I be like literally, it was the weight loss was literally coming off like weekly. And I was like, okay, so I'm seeing what's happening here. So then for me, it became about body composition. Um,
Right.
and for me, because I'm a former athlete and I'm still still athletic now and things like that. And it's just I I want to fit. I want for me is not just cardiovascular fitness, but it's also strength,
Yeah.
flexibility, and mobility. And those are all the things that I do because I participate in activities. I play basketball still. I'm a cyclist. I've taken up sort of gymnastic strength training. So what I did notice was one of the first things I noticed is that as the weight came off, my cardiovascular conditioning improved. And as my cardiovascular conditioning improved, I was able to more effectively train and lift, and my strength improved, my body composition improved, my cardiovascular fitness improved. And as my composition improved, my flexibility began to improve, because now I could achieve positions in terms of stretching and flexibility that I could not do before, because there was just some extra fluff in the way, right? But now,
Exactly.
I mean, I can literally stand flat-footed, bend over, and touch the ground with both of my hands flat, right?
I
I,
can still do that. I've always been able to do that. Thank you.
hey, I'm a dude, so dudes don't necessarily that flexible. I can do. I can
You're
do.
right.
I'm working on what's called a pancake stretch, which you stand. You sit down. You sort of sit down in a straddle position, and you lean all the way forward until your face is flat into the floor like a pancake.
All right.
Right? I am. I'm about 3/4 of the way to the down now. I got 1/4 away, and I'm on the floor.
Yeah.
Right? And those things have been incredible. Is that my flexibility has and mobility has improved. I'm
Yeah.
better with my gymnastics. I'm much better. The cycling has been just, I've been just crushing the bike.
Oh,
Like,
that's cool.
so all of this sort of goes together. And on top of that, I look good. I ain't gonna front. I look good. So, you know, that was just like an added benefit, just looking good.
And you know what? It makes you feel good. That's the whole
It,
thing, feeling good
it,
about yourself. It just, your self-esteem, you're walking taller, you're looking like, ooh, I know I'm looking good today.
looking
I
like
lost a
right.
little weight.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you know what? I could tuck my shirt in. I mean, it just,
Yes.
I
I
mean,
have to cover up that belly.
you have to
Yeah.
cover up anything, right? It's like, you know what? I went to the beach. I went to the beach. I was like, you know what? I'm walking around without my shirt on. Let me flex on these folks real quick.
Lord, Lord. Yeah, no. I mean, it's reachable, it's doable, it's a personal accomplishment. I mean, congratulations to you. I'm about it too. My thing that I want to get into also is more yoga. I've been doing yoga, but this year I really want to be dedicated more to yoga, because just as we get older, it's just, it's better for your joints, to be flexible, and even hot yoga. I need more of that.
I'm
That's
telling
my,
you, you are definitely on something, and that's that. Like I said, like the thing for me is those four pillars has been cardiovascular fitness, strength, flexibility, and mobility, and I work on all four every day. And when I say flexible, people confuse flexibility and mobility. Flexibility is obviously is being flexible and having supple movements and supple muscles and the ability to get into certain positions. But mobility is the ability to take that flexibility and to be able to move. And something as simple as like there a basic basic movements that everyone should be able to everyone should be able to do a squat. And I don't mean a weighted squat, a barbell squat. I mean like you should be able to get into a squatted position and be able to sit there, right?
right.
Um, you see a lot of the elderly who who have issues, like people who fall on the floor and they can't get up. We
Right.
think of that, you used to think of that as a joke, but that when you think about it, that's legitimate, because the ability to get off of the floor is just something that's fundamental. That doesn't, you don't have to be able to deadlift 305 pounds to get up off the floor, but to be able to get off of the floor requires flexibility and mobility. And as we get older, if we do not utilize those things, they will go away, and then we will become prisoners of our own bodies.
Exactly. And that's what, oh my gosh, when I tell people, when I'm talking, whether it's to friends or patients, I say, as you get older is when you need to exercise even more.
Right.
When you were young and supple, I mean, your limbs, and you didn't have body fat, but now you need to exercise on purpose. If
Yeah.
we want to live this healthy life, I mean, if I could just put that and motivate somebody to understand that to live healthy, you've got to do the work.
Yep. You
You got
got
to,
to you got you got to do it. You
you
have
got,
you can't get around it.
you
You cannot
can't
get
get around it. Look, you deserve it. You're worth it. You know, it's beneficial. It's going to help you. You deserve to live the best life that you can live and to be the best that you can be. I
Mhm.
mean, daily seeing these unhealthy people who are overweight, and I'm not just talking about, I mean, it's we're not talking about you know, that everybody has to be a certain size and a certain
Right.
number, but
That's right.
there are people who are obese to the point where you're wondering how they're walking and
Right.
the pressure that's on their joints, their knees, their backs, and the chronic complaint that they have, the cost to them and their insurance, and just living in agony.
Yeah.
And they're like killing themselves with the excess fat.
They are, and it's and our bodies are designed to work. Our bodies are unlike any other thing, unlike a car, right? You wouldn't mistreat your car, don't mistreat your body, and you have to sort of optimize it because if your car breaks down, you can go get another car. Your body breaks down, you got to live with that. Right?
Yes.
You got to live with you got to like you literally have to live with that.
Yes, exactly. And your body can't sometimes recover from your past mistakes. How many times have we seen that? You lived a rough life, you know, whether it was heavy drugs, alcohol, obesity, bad eating as a youth. When
Yep.
you get older, it's not like all, unless you just really change your mindset and do something drastic,
Yep.
you know, you're the one that's going to suffer
Right.
the health issues. Those are the people that suffer. So I mean, I just want to encourage everyone to let 2020 be the year that you decide that you're important enough and you deserve it to be healthy and strong and to live your best life.
And one thing I'd like to add is that it's about it's not about hard work. It's about consistency.
Yes.
Just be consistent, right?
Pray.
And and
Yes.
accept the small incremental changes that you have and that occur. And that's a good thing. It just incremental change because incremental change and consistency adds up to big things over time. And if you're able to have incremental change that you can appreciate and be consistent with that, that's something that you can sustain as opposed to sort of a crash diet or what typically happens on January 1st is the first month of January everybody goes to the gym and then they're just sweating and working really really hard but they don't maintain it. Just
Right.
pick your goal and just be consistent with it just a little bit at a time every day and just chip away and chip away and chip away and chip away. Nothing has taught me more about that than my gymnastics rings training. Because that is that is the most incremental improving, small change, small one day. I mean, just it's humbling, but it's just like it requires so much consistency, and the little bit of change that you get from it is just a little bit of time. But before you look up, oh my goodness. Whereas I couldn't do a push up on the rings, now I can do a full ring dip. Now I can do a ring pull up. Now I can do a skin to cat, and it's just you just go back over the months of all that struggle and that incremental change, and it adds up.
You know, you're absolutely right. It's always about consistency because you don't need a gym, you don't need rings. You could just walk.
Yeah,
You could just purpose in yourself that, you know, I'm going to walk 3 times a week, or, you know, if you're or just one more day than you did before and be consistent about it.
absolutely. Just
That's
be consistent. And that works for everything in our lives. Just be consistent. That's it.
yes. All right. That's the message. Consistency. That's what we want to go in the new year with. Whatever changes you want to make, whatever diet you want to follow, just be consistent.
Yep.
All right, this was awesome. Thank you. I hope that, you know, we gave the people some new info, and even if it's not new, we at least motivated and encouraged them to be consistent and live their best lives.
That's right. Live your best life. You only got one.
You only got one.
You got one. Don't live it for anybody else but yourself.
That's right. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Health Flow podcast. Your support is much appreciated. It is my goal to share health information that you find helpful. Email topics of interest to thehealthflow@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at thehealthflow, also on Facebook at The Health Flow. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share. Until next time, keep your health flowing.